Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's 18th of May, 2021. Coming up the Crusty Canuck podcast. C-10, Le BLOC Leader is all for it. And more stuff with General Dany Fortin. All that more coming up in the show. Stick around.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast, a Canadian veteran's point of view on political, social, economic issues and life. Here's Crusty.
Well, smack my ass and call me Judy.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Crusty Canuck podcast. I'm your host, Crusty Canuck, episode 126. As I mentioned in the title, Bill C-10. Yes, it's not going to be good for you too there, Mr. Blanchete. Yes, and a couple of articles from the Toronto Sun and other outlets. Mr. Yves Blanchete was quite adamant in saying that this law must pass in the name of protecting French identity and French culture and, above all else, the language. So, interesting enough, when you propose a bill in regards to censoring somebody, making sure there's enough content here and content there, as Mr. Gilbo likes to fucking claim, which we all know it's an outright lie, here comes Yves Blanchete, Mr. Le BLOC Québécois separatist minister, with his efficient, we're going to protect our culture and identity, by backing up a censorship bill. Now, I will say again, ladies and gentlemen, and I've said this before on my other platforms and social media, whatever, I am not against Quebecers. I'm not against anybody who speaks French in this country. I'm not against anybody who speaks English, Cantonese, Szechuan, Hebrew, Arabic, Hindi, Pakistani, Pashto, Farsi, Inuit, Dene. Any language at all, whatever your first language is, my God, speak it proudly into the heavens and back. But we also live in a country that has two official languages, English and French, French and English. Okay, yes, there have been some bloody parts in history over that clash and that conflict. It dates way back to colonial Britain and colonial France. But let's not worry about that garbage right now. Let's worry about this garbage. Okay? Mr. Blanchete, yes, you were elected to look after your believers and your candidates and your voters alike to protect Quebec identity. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, but now there's talks of Bill 36, which makes French paramount in La Belle Province, right? And what I don't understand with the whole language clause is that in Canada, everything is bilingual, basically. Every product you buy in the store, there is English and French printing on it, right? In Ontario, road signs are bilingual. A lot of street signs are bilingual. A lot of products you buy are bilingual. Every time you get a government pamphlet of any sort, doesn't matter if it's provincial or federal, it's bilingual. You go to any government office, you can be spoken to in English and or French or both, if you ever so desire. And what gets me is that Mr. Blanchete, quite the staunch separatist, a man who said Alberta oil is dirty and filthy, and was quite adamant about blocking Energy East and blocking the export of Alberta oil. Doesn't mind taking Saudi oil, doesn't mind taking oil from here, taking oil from there, right? And is quite happy when there's equalization payments given to La Belle Province from Alberta and Saskatchewan, like when it comes to our dirty oil. And now he's backing up a bill that has been controversial since its inception back in November of 2020, where we can't speak our minds anymore because of online hate or lack of Canadian content. Now, do you honestly think, sir, that even with passing 36 and you want to amend the Constitution, which, you were dead against to begin with, okay, and whether it's Mr. Legault that's pushing this or Mr. Blanchete, okay, what are you trying to prove? What are you trying to promote here? Honestly, think about that for a second, okay? Do you not think that if you sit behind this bill, and it does pass, by whatever grace of the gods up there watching us right now, if it does pass, do you honestly think that Quebecers in your riding will be happy with that decision overall? Because that means that if you stand by that decision to back this up and back that up and hopefully maybe change the Constitution, do you not think that your constituents in your areas and ridings will be censored too, will be told what to say in the name of La Belle Province and what to write in the name of La Belle Province? whether they agree or disagree. Do you not think that this bill is going to affect your constituents, your voters, your taxpayers, the people that pay your fucking salary?
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Yeah, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 126 of the Crusty Canuck podcast. I am your host, Crusty. And a big thank you out there to everyone who tuned in to the Sunday Fastball with myself, Fred Stockman, Chris Semchuk, and Adam Danny Mezei. Thank you very much. We're getting a lot of good positive feedback from all you wonderful people out there. So please keep liking, subscribing, and sharing this content all over the place. Excuse me. Wow, too much coffee. Please keep sharing, liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. And if you like and hear what you see, please click like and subscribe on the little bell that's on the YouTube page. And give me a thumbs up and share this to every platform you can. Keep the algorithm going in our favor, too. Us independent folk have to get our words out just the same as you do, ladies and gentlemen. So think about that. You know, you share to two friends, they share to two friends, and so on and so on. Just like the old bad commercial from the 70s, that Wayne's World redefined in one of their movies again. So please keep that in mind. Share this all around. Anyway, carrying on again with C-10 affecting Yves Blanchete, and it will. It will. Doesn't matter what party you represent. And what gets me is that the NDP were eager to jump aboard, and now they're not so eager. And there are actually some liberals, from what I heard through the grapevine. I don't have the facts and figures in that too, but that's what I heard. So maybe there might be some truth to that. I don't know. But needless to say, ladies and gentlemen, C-10 is not a good thing for anybody. Not a good thing for anybody at all. Because, you know, you sit there and say you're protecting Canadian content, yet we already have laws for that. We already have laws in place that protect Canadian content. And regardless of who makes a movie in this country, or what company makes a movie, or what TV series is being made, or what music is being produced, or what literature is being published for the masses to read, there is an unsurpassable amount of people that can find Canadian culture anywhere. I was actually watching a show the other day about the band, you know, Robbie Robertson, right? You know, Cripple Creek, their big hit back in the 1960s. And I didn't realize that there was the majority of those people in that band were born in Canada, with the exception of Levon Helm, who I think came from Arkansas. But still, right? Bunch of Canadian guys getting together for the love of music, all trained, because I think most of the band itself, I think the band itself used to roll with Rock and Ronnie Hawkins back in the day, up in the late 50s, early 60s. So they had quite the musical repertoire. They had quite the talent, quite the gift to contribute to modern music as we see today. And it's good to say, because you kind of pat yourself in the back thinking, yep, those guys were Canadian, right on. Not that it had anything to do with it, but needless to say. So there's quite a bit of Canadian content out there, ladies and gentlemen, that's still on the airwaves. It's still on television. That's still in our bookshops and still online. And basically, Bill C-10 is nothing but a glorified way to censor people, to create any kind of dissent towards any governing party. So it just sounds like borderline fucking communism, really. And of course, here's Mr. BLOC Le Québécois, Yves Blanchete. Now, I do admire the guy because he is brilliant. You know, he is educated, but he gets paid in Canadian dollars, right? He works for the Quebec taxpayer as well as the federal taxpayer too. And yet he's all for C-10. So I wonder, if C-10 does go through, and the so-called backstepping and sidestepping that the Liberals have done, especially Mr. Guilbeault, right? What is going to happen to those people that voted for Le Bloc and they can't get their content, or they have to be censored when they say something against whatever mayor or whatever reeve or whatever provincial candidate, or heaven forbid, whatever federal candidate? Oh my goodness, right? They censor in French too, ladies and gentlemen. They censor in English. They censor in Szechuan, Cantonese. Censorship is not a new concept. It's been around quite a bit, right? Royal families did it to its citizens. You know, fascist governments have done it. Mussolini, Hitler, Stalin, Mao Zedong, right? Pol Pot did it, especially while he was killing 1 million of his own people. So it's not a new concept, and it's not just immune to English-speaking Canada. It will be forced down the throats of French speakers too. And to my friends in Quebec, pardon my ignorance, but Le Bloc has got one fucking screw loose.
Stay updated And follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Yes, please, too, ladies and gentlemen, consider joining me on Supercast as well. Link will be in the description. Just follow the green check mark when you look at my description in my liner notes on Podbean and on YouTube. You join Supercast for $5 a month. That's right, $5 a month gets you all of my content, all of my podcasts, censorship-free. It's a Canadian-based company that hosts it and distributes. So please join today for $5 a month. You get all the Crusty Canuck episodes you desire on every month for just $5. So consider that too. I'd like to make this a full-time commitment, but I need you, my wonderful listeners out there and fans alike. Please help me make it happen. Anyway, carrying on. More updates on the General Fortin issue too. Now, my last episode, I asked, what did Dany do? And I asked about due process, and I speculated that, okay, he might have done something. Was it a big deal? I don't know. But I guess in recent news, I guess back in 1989, when he was a college freshman back at RMC, Royal Military College of Canada, from American listeners and other listeners out there, our Royal Military College of Canada is basically a military-based college where if you're good enough to get into based on your high school marks and all that too, you can get in there, get an education, get trained in whatever trade or field we want. And the only drawback is that I think you commit something like 5 years to military service thereafter in a way to more or less pay for your education, which I think is a fair deal. Now, I never applied to RMC. I never had any ambitions to apply to RMC. But the option's still there as far as I know. Now, General Fortin is a graduate of that, in the background in science, what have you. And he stayed in the military for his whole career because of his education. Right? Now, I guess his first year of said indoctrination, or said first year of his entry in college, I guess the story is, now correct me if I'm wrong, and please, I encourage all my listeners out there to hand me the facts if you do find them before I do or what have you. I guess he was shaking his junk at somebody, So, needless to say, here's a guy who might have been 18 or 19 years old at the time, obviously, probably involved with somebody or at a party or in some kind of social situation, and he ended up shaking his junk at someone because I guess the story is he exposed his privates to somebody. So, Jesus Christ, guys, how many of us have done that before? I guess if the logic is now to hunt down and persecute somebody 32 years after the fact, right? I guess that's the old trend now too, because when I look back at those years, I've said some bad things to some ladies, tell them to go take a hike and go F themselves, that kind of thing, because at the time they pissed me off. Mind you, though, too, maybe they weren't the most desirable women out there to even pursue, but that's neither here or there. And I digress. The thing being, when you're 18 years old, you do stupid things. Now, I'm not trying to justify what he did, but I'm not saying he was a Bill Cosby either, where he drugged people and forced and coerced and blackmailed and manipulated and then turned into a really dirty fucking rapist. Now, there isn't a lot of facts out there that are being shared with us because apparently this person that complained is being protected somehow. Or, facts and figures can't come out because of some kind of protection issue. But to make a long story short, how this happens. Oh, sorry, folks. Had a power outage. Yes, once again, sorry for that little interrupt there, folks. Had a bit of a power outage here. Yes, we just had a hailstorm here. So I had to shut things down for a few minutes, but I'm still recording the same episodes. Yes, carrying on again. Episode 126, Crusty Canuck Podcast. C-10 will affect you too, Yves Blanchete. And as I was saying, talking about the whole General Dany Fortin issue. So here's a kid who did something back in college, early years of college, freshman or not, 18 or 19 years old. I guess apparently he was shaking his junk at somebody, and that somebody didn't like it. But instead of dealing with it at that time, let's fast forward 32 years when the man is in charge of something important, and now he gets persecuted. Now, I guess the information came across the powers that be 2 months ago. And, of course, Justin Trudeau and his efficiency only saw it just recently or a few weeks back. Needless to say, it's a shit show, folks. So I think Mr. General Dany Fortin is innocent of something. Now, it might have been stupid. Yes, I agree. It is stupid to shake your junk at somebody. But I personally don't think it's going to be to a point where it's going to harm you mentally and physically, okay? So whoever this mysterious complainant is, regardless if she's protected or not, I want to say one thing to you, ma'am or madam, or whoever you identify. Grow up, okay? Because I personally have had women say some really rotten things to me a good part of my life, okay? I've had women condemn me for being short. I've had women make fun of my bald head, my stance, my stature, my beliefs, my like in sports, my taste in music, and I'm still here. And I never went out of my way to fire any of these ladies for saying such rotten things to me. That's all part of growing up. And your character gets built, and you learn things. You learn how to cope, how to handle things. Now, I just don't know the whole story, but based on what we're being told, apparently all he did was just shake his junk at someone or expose himself. Or he flashed an innocent girl or flashed this person or flashed that person. That's besides the point. 32 years ago. And now it's just coming to surface. So whether it's in this name of this pandemic or name of procurement issues, or maybe he stirred the pot and pissed somebody off, I don't know. But my summary is this. I think he's innocent, and he deserves to be put into court, proven innocent till guilty, due process. But we need to know more of the story, too, before we all speculate. But just the way it sounds, it seems like it's a revenge tactic of some sort. Anyway, carrying on with more of the censorship issue with Bill C-10. And, of course, les BLOC getting all hot and bothered over it like it's supposed to be the new mecca to say whatever language. Now, as far as I know, all the Quebecers that I've worked with and I still talk to today, and Quebecers I know personally, their language is not being compromised because they speak it to each other. They speak it fluently. And a lot of the Quebecers I have met, let's say, 15 years ago, are quite diverse in both languages. Right? So hats off to those individuals that do that. And I would love to learn more French too. It's just a matter of time and effort and how much money I have to reteach myself the finer points of le français, and le anglais, right? My Canada includes Quebec, always has, always will. And as I always say too, to my last breath. So I will fight for French Canadians. I'll fight for English Canadians. I'll fight for Chinese Canadians. I'll fight for all colors and creeds in the name of this country, because I believe Canada is a wonderful place. And we can overcome these ridiculous little mandates and ridiculous little gestures worrying about identity when we should be worrying about the sovereignty of this nation and the democracy it should be promoting. Okay? Rather than these little groups of aficionados and so-called know-it-alls telling us what is right and what isn't right, how to walk, how to pick your nose, how to wipe your bottom, yes, and how to walk the imaginary line for us and
Join the Liberal Party of Canada. We'll tell you what to think, what to do, how to wipe, how to pick your nose, all in the name of safety.
And let's not forget the allies of said Liberal Party, too.
Mama always said I had a face for radio.
And then some.
Join today's NDP. We'll keep moving the goalposts. You don't walk the line for us, we'll call you racist, misogynistic, xenophobic, homophobic. We look for racism in everything. Please, join the NDP today. And subscribe and donate. Please, walk our line. Thank you.
So you've got Yves Blanchete saying that it's going to protect Quebec culture and identity and the language. C-10 will do that, right? Okay, that's wrong. And of course, the NDP was all for it because they're so anti-hate speech, and yet they're the first ones to point fingers at anybody who may be white who's protesting the anti-mask and anti-vaccine issue, right? So obviously it's a contradiction. Of course, the Liberals, every time you speak out against the Liberals, or you're either an extremist or a terrorist or a Proud Boy or whatever bigoted comment they try to come up with and try to validate. So it's a shit show, folks, right? So the best thing we can do right now is keep speaking. Keep speaking. I encourage my Quebec listeners, too, to weigh in on this as well. Please give me your point of view. Let me know exactly what you think about this stuff. And I'll say again, too, I'm not against le français. I'm not against l'anglais either. I love Canada. My Canada includes Quebec. It includes PEI, Northwest Territories, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Newfoundland, Labrador. Nunavut, Northwest Territories, Yukon, BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, and Ontario, my homeland of Ontario. But I don't call myself an Ontarian. I call myself a Canadian. Appelez-vous? Right, something to think about, ladies and gentlemen.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And please, ladies and gentlemen, if you get a chance to, check me out on Supercast. The link will be in the description. Just follow the green check mark in the description headline in my YouTube page and on my Podbean page. Join Supercast. $5 a month gets you all of my podcasts. Censorship-free, minus, of course, power outages that we just had in today's episode. But needless to say, it's all good. Please join me at Supercast. I'd like to make this a full-time commitment. And I need you, my beautiful viewers and listeners alike and fans alike. Please contribute today. You can also find me at crustycanuck.ca if you just want to give a donation or two. And if you do send me an e-transfer via my crustybcanuck67@gmail.com, make sure that your password is clear and precise. Had some issues there with some payments. I'm not condemning anybody who's paying me. I'm very, very grateful. However, I need that password to get through the security checks that my bank offers. So please keep that in mind, folks. Yes, anyway, carrying on. More of this censorship garble and just the lackluster performances from these elected officials, too. And it's getting to the point, too, where I'm actually seeing more stuff online from other Canadians, staunch liberals and staunch conservatives alike, who are getting sick and tired of the canceling, getting sick and tired of the race baiting, getting sick and tired of the identity politics. Whatever happened to Canada where you could just go to any kind of shop in any city and enjoy one's culture or one's heritage and not worry about what language you're speaking or not worry about how you're standing, right? It's obvious that these leaders at B, doesn't matter if they're BLOC, doesn't matter if they're NDP, Green, Liberal, Conservative, doesn't matter. They're constantly pushing this divided line. Now, here's a story that Brian Lilly wrote about the whole C-10 issue. And I'll just read it verbatim. I'll leave links in the description as per, but you decide, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this comes from Brian Lilly from the Toronto Sun. He wrote this yesterday. Lilly, BLOC will back Trudeau's internet control bill. Barring an election or some last-ditch attempt to block it, the controversial Bill C-10 is destined to become law. The bill to regulate the internet using the CRTC now has the backing of the governing Liberals as well as the Bloc Québécois and the NDP. This means that government regulation of all aspects of internet, including your social media feeds, is one step closer to reality. While the NDP has expressed support for passing the bill while also offering up criticism of some aspects of the government's handling of it, the Bloc is now all in. Right? On Sunday night, during the popular Quebec TV show, Tout le monde en parlait, BLOC Leader Yves Blanchete said, this law must pass. The bill was introduced in the House of Commons last November and created little controversy at the time, likely because not too many people read the text. Titled, An Act to Amend the Broadcasting Act, few realized the far-reaching implications of said bill. Once the Liberals on the Heritage Committee removed a protection for user-generated social media content, such as my show, though things changed. The government was rightly accused of tampering with our freedom of speech in the online world. After weeks of bad headlines, the Liberals backed down somewhat, and they said they would propose changes to protect users of social media from government regulation. But experts in the field say the protection is still not there. It's good enough for the Bloc Québécois, though. Blanchette said during the show Sunday that the ongoing claims by the Conservatives that freedom of expression is under threat are delusional. Really? I guess you never read it there, eh, Blanchette? Right? If that were only the case, Bill C-10 and other changes the Liberals have said they want to bring in will allow for full government control of the internet. In the past, I've compared this to early online services like AOL. They didn't take you to the World Wide Web. They took you to their approved content. That's where the Trudeau Liberals want to take Canadian internet experience. Yes, you will take the approved content. Therefore, you will be looking nothing but block information and liberal information alike. Jawohl. Calling the dogs. Yes, here we go. Conservative MP Rachel Harder asked Heritage Minister Stephen Guilbeault last Friday about allowing your social media feeds to be regulated, and he didn't deny it. She asked, will the CRTC be given the responsibility under C-10, the power to regulate algorithms used by social media platforms to decide what type of content people can and cannot see on their Facebook feeds or the information they see on Google or YouTube? Harder asked. No? The concept of discoverability is about, Guilbeault started to answer before Harder cut him off of asking a yes or no answer. Guilbeault complained to the committee that the chair, he was not being allowed to answer the question, but when offered another attempt, he skipped over the issue again. When Harder said she took his answer as a yes, that the CRT will have this power, Guilbeault said it was not a yes, but he wouldn't say it was a no. So therefore, they cannot fucking decide. That's because the answer is yes, it's right in the text, right? So just like the CRTC regulates which songs are played in the radio, they will soon be telling Spotify to push more Nickelback and Celine Dion on you as you try to listen to your playlist. This bill is about many things, using the heavy hand of the CRTC, and to my American listeners, CRTC is the Canadian Radio Television Commission, basically like your FCC, is one of them. But it's also about trying to shovel money to the existing cultural gatekeepers, the ones left out by the internet revolution. This is more Canadian content, including quality content, created and uploaded to online platforms than the cultural gatekeepers will ever produce in a year. The Liberals, NDP, and BLOC are willing to strangle your freedom online, to diminish your internet experience, to make sure that money is taken from successful online platforms and creators and given to the unsuccessful gatekeepers, right? Redistribution of wealth, right? Yeah, great idea. Not. These parties value the votes and the vocal support of the rent-seeking creative class more than they value your freedom to create, engage, and consume and enjoy. If the government wants to support Canada's cultural sector, then they should find a different way. The cost of C-10 or Bill C-10 is simply too high for whatever noble goals they think they will achieve. And there's nothing noble of what they're proposing. Nothing. They can't sit there and say they protect Canadian content. We already had laws that do that. Right? I think 35% of everything displayed in our airways, from radio stations to TV to movies, there has to be, I think, 35% of that content. Right? And when those laws came in back in 79 and 1980, right, it's because you had the likes of Bob and Doug and Second City making waves as they did. So we have lots of Canadian content out there, ladies and gentlemen. These clowns are just trying to regulate it. And, of course, the BLOC, wanting to be the shit disturbers that they are, oh, yeah, we're all for it. But they're failing to realize it's going to affect their listeners, their consumers, their constituents, too. Right? And now there's also a proposition to Section 36 to make an only French issue. Now, I'll tell you this right now. If English Canada did that, they'd be held to pay. Why is it okay for La Belle Provence to promote that?
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And please, ladies and gentlemen, please check out my shop too at Crusty Canuck, customizedgirl.com/s/Crusty Canuck. I got t-shirts, got mugs, got hats, all that good stuff. And I also advertise my shop on my Facebook page too. So check out the shop. Go to my Facebook page, Crusty Canuck, and you'll see the shop heading there. Like I said, I got t-shirts, mugs, hats, swimsuits, all that good stuff. Summer's coming. So ladies, bring out your inner Baywatch. Buy yourself a Crusty Canuck swimsuit today, or get the man or the ever partner you have some Crusty Canuck gitch. I got some patriotic underwear and t-shirts alike. So please check that out today, ladies and gentlemen. And we're carrying on again. More of the C-10 crap and how the BLOC is all for it. You would think the BLOC would be a dead against it too. Because if you're protecting one's culture and identity, you do your best to promote said culture and identity, right? And for those people out there that think North America is a waste of time and Canada has no core values, well, I would say look at the bands like Rush, Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, Leonard Cohen, Gordon Lightfoot. Some of the cheesy bands from the 80s too, Honeymoon Suite, Bryan Adams, Platinum Blonde, just name a few. Not to mention the unsurmountable amount of Quebec culture that has contributed to the world as we see today. Daniel Lanois, who produced one of U2's best-selling albums, right? Rock Voisin, who was quite the international star at one time. Celine Dion. So when you're talking about culture and identity, look what Canada, especially La Provence, has contributed to the world of art as we see. Mr. Villeneuve, who's producing the movie Dune right now, a classic sci-fi story of good versus evil, right? Denis Villeneuve, who is a great director. He's from La Belle Provence. What do you think he's going to say when Le Bloc wants to encourage censorship? You encourage censorship, all the artists, doesn't matter if they're from Quebec, PEI, Nunavut, Vancouver Island, Victoria, it doesn't matter. They're going to leave Canada. They're going to go elsewhere where they can move their product. And that's the thing. Not only has this federal government and some provincial officials and the oppositions have turned around and made it harder for Canadian artists to do things. You made it hard for the market. You won't let oil flow. Oh, no, because that's right. Alberta oil is terrible and dirty and filthy. Oh, my God. But you don't mind heating your homes, though, right? And now you're going to tell artists what to say. You're going to tell writers what to write. You're going to tell viewers what they can see and not see. And you're going to tell them what they can respond to and what they cannot respond to. And it's already started, too. You go to the CBC page, they always turn the comments off. Well, gee, why? Probably because they get a lot of criticism. Probably because that fiasco of a lawsuit they tried to give to the Conservative Party. Eh? Which brings me to my point of the episode, ladies and gentlemen. The whole...
the Canadian polar vortex of bullshit.
Yes, and I guess it's safe to assume who will get the Canadian Polar Vortex of Bullshit Award today. So without further ado, and after reading some of the headlines and looking at some of the doctrine that's out there for our reading and television pleasure, the award for the Canadian Polar Vortex of Bullshit will go to none other than Yves Blanchete and Les Partis Separatistes du Québec. Yeah, here we go. I would say well done, Mr. Blanchete. Well done. Well done on you, sir, for being such an arrogant twat. And with not really looking at the impacts of those decisions, not only are you promoting a bill that's screwing up the rest of the country, that will screw up the rest of the country, but you're going to piss a lot of your constituents off too, because they have just as much right as what you do to speak your mind, right? So well done, sir. Well done on earning
the Canadian polar vortex of bullshit.
Anyhow, carrying on. Well done, sir. You deserve that award. And if I had to have the ability to make a lot of trophies, right, and emphasize the Canadian Polar Vortex of bullshit, I would gladly mail you one, and all the recipients thereafter too, or thereof, right? So well done. Give yourselves a big round of a clap for winning the Canadian Polar Vortex of bullshit for this beautiful 18th of May, 2021. Anyway, carrying on, ladies and gentlemen, here are my solutions. We have to keep writing letters, okay? Like I'm trying to assess a situation where we don't need to be violent. We don't want that, because we saw that footage when Canadian Israelis and Canadian Palestinians were protesting in Toronto and Montreal. We saw the violence that was going on there. Now, it might have just been a few little skirmishes, a few assaults, but needless to say, there were assaults nonetheless. And how many of these assaults have been veiled every time we had the freedom rallies, right? How many? How many of these assaults have happened during our freedom rallies? Yeah, not too many. But, Israel and Palestine are at odds yet again. And yet all these people come out of the woodwork protesting this, protesting that, and they have every right to. And I agree. Okay. But I'm not going to take sides. Who's better, Israel or Palestine? The side I'm taking is the side for Canada. But if it's okay for Palestinian Canadians and Israeli Canadians and supporters thereof to protest in the streets against a dirty fucking war that's happening across the globe, why is it not okay for Canadians to protest what's going on here in our own country, right? How many tickets were handed out at these protests for social distancing? How many of these tickets were handed out for not wearing a mask? Okay? How many tickets were handed to the individuals that committed the assaults? Okay? Now, I'm sure the mainstream media won't put that out there because, it might be deemed racist. No, it's not racist. You're living in Canada. You commit a crime. You pay the price. It doesn't matter what color you are, right? Like the old saying, you accept the Queen's shilling, you take responsibility for her safety. Right? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was the old saying when they had the chain gangs going around grabbing people to join Her Royal Majesty's Navy back in the 1800s or the 1700s. Well, anyway, sometime. Anyway, I'll summarize. Why is it okay for this group to do this, but wrong for that group to do that? Okay? And also in recent news, too, Mr. Artur Pawlowski, the pastor that I had a lovely conversation with there a few weeks back, I guess someone set fire to his garage, too. So what's that tell you? Okay? He wasn't hurt, but still, his property was damaged. You know, you set fire to anyone's property, you're trying to send a message. So there's aggravation right there. There's intent to do something bad to somebody. I don't agree with a lot of the Christian faith. I don't agree with religion, period. That's just me. But I'm not going to condemn anybody who wants to go to a mosque or wants to go to a synagogue or wants to go to a church. As far as I know, that's a right in this country. But why is that being compromised? And don't tell me because of safety or super spreader events. Because if that was the case, you would have shut down the Palestinian protests that happened in Toronto and Montreal. Right? So it's a contradiction in terms, ladies and gentlemen. And the mainstream media puts it out there as if it's a good thing. Okay? You're not happy with something? As far as I can see, you have the right to protest. You're not happy with something? You've got every right to speak out against it. But now these leaders, especially in Alberta and Ontario and Quebec, are pinpricking and pinpointing what can be said and what cannot be said. So the great experiment they're trying to promote is starting to work in their favor. So, of course, their logic is all the more reasons to promote the C-10 issue. No, it's not. Like I said, Mr. Blanchete, C-10 is going to turn around and bite you in the ass later on. And it's going to bite every Liberal in the ass, every NDPer, and every backbencher of every party that has promoted it. So you got to think about it. And I'm going to quote George Carlin again. I've used his quotes before, too. You know, nothing wrong with the plant, nothing wrong with the waters, nothing wrong with the trees and the mountains. The planet is fine. The people are fucked.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Yes, and a reminder again, ladies and gentlemen, please consider joining me on Supercast too. Join the Supercast page. $5 a month gets you all of my podcast censorship-free. So whether you're taking a long car ride, boat ride, or just relaxing, you like your podcast, please join the Supercast page. There's a variety of other artists and podcasters there too. But please tune into the Crusty Canuck podcast on Supercast. $5 a month gets you all of my episodes that I load up. Censorship-free. So please consider joining that today. And if you want to donate, please, donate crustycanuck.ca. I take PayPal, credit card payments, all that good stuff, whatever you want to donate to. I'm not going to demand cash, but I want to make this a full-time commitment, and I need you, my listeners, my beautiful listeners out there, my wonderful fans, to make that happen. And I'm very, very appreciative of all the positive feedback that I've been receiving the past little while, too, especially when we do our live streams. But like I say again, ladies and gentlemen, I will not be doing a Thursday fastball this week, and I'm still waiting for confirmation for next week, too. But please pay attention to my community page on YouTube and updates on my Facebook page as well. But however, the Sunday fastball is still to go. So we will be around next Sunday for sure at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern, to my Eastern listeners as well. And please just pay attention to all my community pages for updates and what have you, what's going to happen in the near future. I'm trying to get some interviews on the go here. I've reached out to Mr. Pierre Poilievre, Her Majesty's opposition, finance critic, and all that good stuff. So I'll hopefully have an interesting conversation with him. Next couple of weeks, Stephen Brule, videographer, men's rights activist, and just all around decent human being. So I'm going to try to talk to him too. And there's more in the works too as we speak, ladies and gentlemen, too. And once again, I want to thank everyone who came out to my last live stream. Sunday Fastball was a great success. It's because of listeners as yourselves that make it happen. So thank you once again for tuning into that. And my apologies again for the little power outage blurb there we had earlier. We had a hailstorm here, so everything's good now. As far as I know, lights are still on, everything's still working, fridge still works, so none of my food's going to go bad. But I hope you're okay, and there's no issues. Anyhow, just to end this show, C-10 is not good, right? Any group that thinks they're special because they deserve special treatment because of a language or because of a look or because of a culture, guess again. Politicians keep saying we're in this together. Well, in a way, they're right. We're not in together to their format. I'd rather us be in together to unify the country, ladies and gentlemen. So yes, I guess we are in this together. Let's start fighting some sanity again. Let's start fighting for what's right. Let's start talking again. Let's not worry about who speaks French or who English. Let's worry about who wants democracy and who doesn't. I've been Crusty Canuck on this beautiful 18th of May, ladies and gentlemen, 2021. Like I always say, look after your friends and loved ones. Do what you can to help each other out. Don't be afraid to go that extra mile for a neighbor or help someone if you can. It doesn't hurt. We have to find light in this manufactured darkness. It's up to us to do it. But like I always say, too, do what you can for your friends and loved ones. Back each other up. Do what we can. And let's just hope for the best. And like I always say, humanity and merit wins the day. I'll see you next time, ladies and gentlemen. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
This has been another episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Stay sane and thank you for listening. From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast.